Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your cinema and movie production mode of operations?
Okay, so it's been a real challenge for us. I don't want to paint it more how do I call it, more dramatic than it already is. We've been closed now. We're going into the 7th week that we've been closed. But I say to a lot of people that ask about the impact has been far beyond the closed period. It's been at least 4 or 5 weeks before we were closed. The sentiment from China and from are you able to hear me well?
Yes, clearly, sir.
Okay, great. The sentiment from China, end of December into January, and when it got into Europe early February, meant that people started becoming more cautious, about where to go, public spaces and all that stuff. So the impact has been far beyond our eventual closure at the end of March. So it's been like we said, for a lot of the cinemas, our cinemas, we've closed all 12 sites for going to 7 weeks now. And as you know, I also double as the secretary of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, and all our member cinemas are closed currently. So it's affected in various ways. And you say the mode of doing business, there is essentially no business to do. There's essentially no business to do in the cinema space. The best business we're doing, and I have to pay homage to a lot of my colleagues, is that we're talking a lot more. We're putting our business differences aside, and we are looking at ways we can come together to ensure that we keep this, sector alive. Remember, it's a sector in modern cinema terms that is 15 years, So it's in our interest to ensure that that COVID doesn't beat us and COVID doesn't, lead to our disappearance. So we're all working together, to ensure that we all come back strong.
So I'd like you to speak about the lessons that your organization has learned, with the fragility of social systems based on global epidemic. What have you learned as an organization?
So one of the benefits of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, which I have to keep plugging in, because if we're going to come out of this, we have to work as an industry together. If we're going to really get the attention of the government, we're going to get the support of the government, if we're going to get people to really be confident that, cinemas are a safe place to be, we have to work together. So one of the things that we've been able to do is liaise with our international partners and other, associations, that maybe have gone through crisis before. Nobody has gone through the COVID situation before, but people have gone through economic crisis and all that. And just look at what best practices they are also doing, so that we're not also operating in a vacuum, So we've been able to have a number of webinars, a number of, discussion points. We belong to an entrepreneur network, that from a company point of view, Endeavor, that has also helped us with resources that we're able to, try and navigate this storm, So a number of things, a number of resources have been available to us, to just equip us, on how to go about the challenge.
So let's talk about revenue. What would you consider your revenue loss at this time? COVID is, with the new laws, social distancing, no public gatherings and all that. So that means the cinemas are on lockdown too. So what would you consider a revenue loss at this time? Like, can you give us figure?
Yeah, well, of course, but the estimates I make, and I've been talking to some of my colleagues, a lot of them even think it's more than that. But just to be even a little conservative, again, the impact for us has been pre the lockdown. It's important to make that distinction, like pre the lockdown. So we think that the impact was from the middle of February, till now. So and the way we analyze it is very simple. We have pillars that really drive, the business. So big films would drive cinema going attendance. First of all, we couldn't have Mulan show, the Disney film, when Bloodshot was just about showing once the lockdown happened. We went into April, that could have been James Bond, big film. Tony Abrams' Fate of Alakada, massive film. We couldn't show that. We have Peter Rabbit, and we had a few other niche films that have done well. Remember, we also lost the Easter period. So again, to put the analysis to you, April last year was the second busiest month of 2019. We took 741 million in the box office. Now, if you consider that we've lost April, we lost about the last week in March, we've lost the first week in May, there's been an impact from middle February. So we've lost, in essence, maybe 12, 13 weeks, more 7 weeks of the shutdown and 6 weeks of impact. Between box office revenues and retail revenues for popcorn, drinks, and shawarma and all the things you have in cinema, and advertising revenues and all the other little revenues that cinema make on the side, easily about 2 billion would have been lost, over that period, if not more. I suspect more.
I'd like to ask, how are you likely to cope with competitors via video on demand and streaming online? You definitely have competitors who also upload content. So how are you likely to cope with video on demand and and its like?
So I will not be. Yes, I would not be oblivious, here and say the competition doesn't exist or would not happen. The truth is, we're confronted with it now. Like, people are getting more and more comfortable watching, films on their screens. But one thing I'm resolute and reassured about is the Nigerian spirit and the innate, characteristic of a typical Nigerian. We want to socialize. We want to have people around us. That's why we're big for the Owambe and the parties and the events. Cinema is not different, particularly if you give the audience the right content. And like I said, because it's also relatively new, we're coming in with new technologies every day. Our friends at Genesis are coming with ScreenX. Our friends at Silverbird are coming, have the 4DX experience. We have the MX4D and the IMAX experience. And we bring in the right content. Look, I just think it's going to be hard to displace cinemas. Hopefully, COVID, we don't have a second wave. We don't have an extra challenge with this in Nigeria. I believe that you will see a real resurgence in cinemas. And look, we also have a duty as cinema operators. We have a duty to elevate the experience. We have a duty to ensure that our locations are very clean, our staff are courteous and helpful. Our systems, sound, lighting, vision, is of the best quality that people are talking about. And when people, compare to watching stuff on their laptop, on their phone, they know that, I will still pay this premium to go to a cinema. And I think that's the challenge we have to take on, to come out stronger and to ensure that we would always be that preferred premium viewing experience.
Most people will say, or let me not be a pessimist now. The government has been proposing all kinds of palliatives, to cushion the effect of COVID-19. Are there any proposed palliative measures from the Nigerian government to sustain the Nigerian movie industry going forward? I mean, once the pandemic is over.
Look, I was asked this question a few days ago, and I'm happy that for the first time in a while, at least since starting, Film House and Film One, we seem to have gotten the interest and attention of the government, and that was even confirmed by the committee that was announced about 2 days ago. As an association, we have engaged with the Lagos State government. I don't know if Lagos State happens to host 50% of our members in terms of the city that has a lot of cinemas. In terms of box office shares, anywhere between 40 to 45%, and obviously has been the epicenter of COVID. So we've been engaging with the Lagos State government, and I have to say they've been very receptive. That's a good thing. Normally, the creative industry has always been neglected, even though ironically all our leaders have found a way of benefiting from the creative industries, from the things they wear, to the events that they go to. One way or the other, they're benefiting from entertainment, but for some reason, I've never really prioritized it, But what we're seeing now is there is a real intention, to let's listen to these guys. Let's also find out the people that are driving things in the various sectors, and see what we can do to help them. We're hoping that the intention and and what they're demonstrating right now translates to tangible stuff. Yeah. So we're talking tangible policy directives, tangible support in terms of, access to funds, affordable funds, and we're talking in terms of, how various ways that we can really kickstart, this industry beyond just cinemas. Cinema is one side and very important. That's what we stand for. But other areas of the creative, ecosystem. So far, we're engaging. So far, a committee has been set up. A report will be sent in 4 weeks. From a cinema association point of view, we are reaching out to all the state governments that our members have cinemas in, and so far, I would say we have some attention. We want it to be more than that, and we'll be first to update once we get anything positive.
I understand that you launched a $1 million fund, a film fund with
Correct.
a Chinese company, Hua Hua Media, and
yes.
South Africa's South Africa's Empire Entertainment. Okay,
yes.
Do you want to give us the latest development on that and how it's impacted your business?
We're very excited and happy, and again honored that we're able to close this film fund just in time before COVID hit. And for me, the way I express the film fund to anyone that cares to listen is, for the first time, we're able to make a business case, not emotional, not sentimental, a business case about the viability of filmmaking in our industry. So when Film One was set up, the idea of investing in films was to build out a model, over time. Hence the successes with the Wedding Party movies, the successes with the films we've done with AY, and some of other films that we've also done with Inkblot, for example. We've sat on a number some really, really useful data. Who is watching our films? Who they watch? How they get the information on the films? What works and what doesn't work? How long films typically last at the box office? Once films are out of the box office, who are those buying it on other platforms? A lot of information like that are the things that we sit on and analyze. And I think we're armed with that, and it was almost a no-brainer for our partners, to come on board. And we just thought, rather than going for a very big amount, let's go for something that we can contain. Let's go for something that will be impactful. And we're glad to say that we're looking at a good number of films, to fund, with this fund we're able to create. Within
this frame of time with your operations, what has been your greatest regret so far?
Yeah, the devaluation of 2015, 2016 kind of set the cinemas back a lot. It meant that, so for example, our initial investment was in dollars, and we charge in Naira, and overnight it became, it literally just became, we were 200% or 300% worse off. Yes. And then the recession followed. And, for us to beat that, that's what, again, that's what gives us confidence that we can always beat, the challenges we face. So for me, I wish that didn't happen. From a company standpoint, we've had some mishaps here and there with our locations that I wish did not happen. We've had to go through some heartbreak, but we've bounced back. That's, businesses go through, But I think that if we didn't have that setback with the devaluation and the recession, I think we would have seen an even stronger cinema sector by now. But look, where we take the lessons, and I like I said, I'm very, very sure that there's a global era for cinemas globally, but particularly Nigeria coming up.
What's that thing that people do not know about you? What makes you happy the most, and what is the thing that people do not know about you?
Okay, so I'm going to say what makes me happy the most from a professional and personal standpoint. So let me put the professional one. What excites me is the level of talent that exists in Nigeria. Without infrastructure support, institutional support, without funding, come on, it is great. Look, I'm excited. There are things that I'm exposed to and have access to. Obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I cannot, divulge. But when you see the sheer work and the sheer talent that people have, it just gives you goosebumps. It just makes you excited about possibilities, you know. And when you, for example, when you see like our films, even though yes, it's in Nigerian domain, our films, The Setup and Love is War by Money Oboli, you know, topping the Netflix charts against multi-million-dollar productions from Netflix, it just tells you there is a lot more to come. When you see people that don't hug the limelight doing great things in the background, is it our art scene? Is it our literature? Is it our culinary arts? Is it fashion? You know, it's the sheer level of talent, and I'm grateful to what social media has done to express that. You know, that really excites me. What people don't know about me, I always say, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. I grew up. I grew up in Deeper Life, you know, Bible Church. My father is a Deeper Life pastor. I'm never ashamed about it. You know, I'm unashamedly, unreservedly a Christian, a born again Christian. You know, I sang in the Deeper Life Youth Choir. I played, you know, the keyboards, you know, as a child, you know, the Deeper Life Youth Choir, as in the youth ministry for years. One of my big, you know, dreams is to do a faith-based movie one of these days. And yeah, so, you know, I'm grounded. I pray to remain, I pray it remains that way. You know, and yeah, that's something about me that maybe a lot of people don't know. I think it's hard for people to associate, you know, Deeper Life, which is a lot more conservative, you know, Christian denomination, with, you know, out and out entertainment like I represent.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks.